I was watching John from Active Self-Protection do his analysis of the Alex Preddy killing, and he pointed out something I hadn't noticed. When the CBP officer shoved the lady down, which was a stupid, unjustifiable thing for him to do, Alex reflexively, instantly stepped in to help, which is admirable. It's what all of Alex's family, friends, and coworkers have said is so like him. Unfortunately, the first thing he did was put his hand on the officer, like one might do if two kids on the soccer field are starting to fight. Unfortunately, I'm inclined to agree with John's take that it meets the definition of assault on a police officer. So that officer pulling out the pepper spray and spraying Alex is unsurprising, because that's part of the training. We'll get back to the escalation in a few minutes. But first I want to address a thing I've seen and heard repeated a lot. Poorly trained. I don't remember which is which, but the two officers who've killed Minnesotans in the past week or so have been in federal law enforcement for 8 and 10 years, I think I heard. I'm beginning to doubt its lack of training, at least in these cases. It's a problem with temperament, mindset, worldview. It's a deeper, long-term problem with too many of our law enforcement people that they're just not of the right personality to be doing some of the things they're tasked to do. Remember the Andy Griffith Show? Sheriff Andy Taylor had the right personality for that role. Deputy Barney Fife was so ill-suited that Andy wouldn't even let him keep bullets in his revolver. Long ago, probably about 1981, my father recognized that I was aimless, didn't know what to do with my life, so he paid a pretty decent sum of money to send me to a vocational psychologist. Spent a few hours taking psychological, cognitive, and aptitude tests, which he then evaluated, and I went back several days later to discuss the results. The number one vocation he said I was best suited for? Law enforcement. Very strong sense of right and wrong. Big believer in the rule of law, that sort of thing. But I did not pursue a career in that field because I also knew something about myself that perhaps those tests weren't designed to notice. I have a temper. I can get violently angry in a heartbeat. It's also why, even though I have always had firearms, I haven't gotten a permit to carry concealed. Recipe for disaster. It's also why I haven't gone to any of the protests in Minneapolis. I know how unsettled I get around crowds. I know, without the slightest doubt, that if I saw that hot-headed CBP officer shove that lady to the ground, I would step in. I would put my hands on that guy. I'd be killed. I'm also confident you could not train that out of me. Are there many ICE goons recently added to the force that are poorly trained? Of course. The math makes it impossible not to be true. But for the two officers involved in those two shootings, they have years in the job, not newbies. The bigger, longer-term problem is how we recruit and select people into law enforcement. Look, I've met many cops who are pretty decent folks, people with the right personality and attitude. But I've met some real stinkers, too. You know there are guys in law enforcement for whom the number one reason they've gravitated toward that career is it increases the chance they'll be able to kill a brown person and probably get away with it. We don't do enough to weed those out of the ranks. That's why we were saying defund the police. It's not that we don't need any police, but the idea that pouring more money into recruitment, equipment, meaning bigger guns and urban tanks, and more training, is going to make this problem better. It's so short-sighted. We need more social workers, and they need to be paid better. We need more teachers, and they need to be paid better. We need more immigration judges and lawyers. We need to massively improve the VA and fulfill the promises made to our veterans. These are things that address some of the root causes of many things that make our communities a bit untenable. And we need to fix recruitment for law enforcement. Too many short-tempered racists with qualified immunity, authority, and a gun. So back to the Alex Preddy incident. Not a training problem, a temperament problem. Some hot-headed guys who can't resist pushing a lady down when she's criticizing them for doing what some idiots in Washington told them to do. Guys who can't de-escalate. Guys who you could train till you're blue in the face, but they still can't take that sort of pressure, and shit escalates out of hand. Couple that with dipshit J.D. Vance saying absolute immunity. This bullshit was inevitable.